Hello everyone, happy Friday, happy weekend, if only it was a happier time for Destiny in general. But as the week still goes by, Zera still comes around with new stock for those of us still in the world of Destiny. On the front page, of course, we have a few catalysts, the first being the Coldheart catalyst, which if I recall is still one of the original ones and has been reworked since, so it is basically just a bit of a large stat buff. I forget if for certain the catalyst makes it spawn the ionic traces or if that's just natural to it. It is worth getting if you enjoy the Coldheart Trace Rifle, but at the same time, it is just, the basic catalyst. The same would kind of go for the Colony Catalyst. It is basically just increased ammo, which is always, nice, because obviously it's a heavy weapon, which always has more ammo, but the Catalyst isn't exactly sought after, I'd say. I enjoyed what they did to rework the Colony initially, but I haven't reused it since the first time I went through the campaign on my Hunter for a kind of selected Void setup. But regardless, into the armor. Speaking of Void, we have Orpheus Rigs with high mobility, moderately high discipline and intellect, which if you don't know what this does, for the single shot shadow shot, it basically makes so that anything tethered would return energy, and for the triple shot shadow shot, you would have an additional volley to fire. Essentially, would you want more super energy on return, or would you want more damage or weakening overall? Essentially, if you're running anything that had to do with tether and you didn't have anything else logged down, this would be the thing to run almost permanently on a Void subclass. Then you also have Heart of Inmost Light. Similarly so, it is one of the neutral game kings of Destiny. For the Titans, basically, if you somehow don't know what it does, using any ability in your grenade, melee, or barricade sections will empower any of the other abilities you have. Use your melee, your grenade has better damage, and your barricade has more health. On top of that, those two abilities also get enhanced regen ability, and it goes back and forth. It is very spicy and potent with the Prismatic. It used to be a lot more powerful, but that's because people took advantage of what it could offer. Still a worthy pick though for every Titan build, especially the Prismatic ones. Then we also have Sunbracers, which the stat rolls is generally all around, with a little bit higher in the strength, which is actually kind of worth it. If you don't know what it does, basically makes it so that your solar grenades last for longer, and these solar charged melee kills will grant you as many grenades as you can throw in about a 6-second period, which Bungie actually adjusted it. It was nerfed recently. I think you used to be able to get 6 grenades out in the 6-second period, but now I think they worked the recharge so now you can only get 4. However, with the Touch of Flame that buffs solar grenades, this is still a very potent pick. I was doing the first encounter of Salvation's Edge, and this was carrying the ad clear for my team. But, still, again, a worth it pick if you want it. Otherwise, if you just need to get a stat roll, maybe focus some engrams. Pick a few. Then we also have the Gunsmith engrams right here for our rotation event. But then into the rest of our exotic stuffs, we have the usual engram. A Hawkmoon went for Crucible, I'd say, with Rangefinder, Polymer Grip for handling, and Corkscrew Rifling for range stability and handling. All around, it just has plenty of things to add on to it to make it a solid enough Crucible roll. Although I do know some time ago that Rangefinder in general got nerfed, so it is not at all the key to winning that it was once upon a time in Crucible. Then into our other weapons, we have a Anti-Barrier King in Arbalest. Initially, when introduced, this was only good at anti-shield, but once it was introduced into the champion pool and gained anti-barrier, this used to be the go-to for every GM and master raid in the game that had barrier champions, or just in general, because it does have a impressive buff to anti-shield. But since since shields lost a lot of their resistances and endgame shields aren't as potent of an opponent anymore, this has kind of fallen off in its ease of use, or at least in its variety use. Still good for anti-barrier, it still pops in 1 or 2 shots if I remember, and in Crucible it is still one of those guns that it is a special ammo linear fusion rifle that can still one-tap to the head, so keep that in mind. For the PvE side and the energy, Risk Runner, which is an A-tier pick for any sort of PvE game that has anything arc in it. If you don't know what it does, you take arc damage and suddenly you get more resistant to incoming damage, the weapon gets bonus damage, and kills extend time in this state. And from that point, while you have it going, shots you fire will have a chance to not only chain lightning, but also refund ammo. This is essentially Zalu Supercell reworked for Destiny 2, But again, it is an ad clear monster as long as you have anything arc, and self-damage also counts. So if you just throw an arc grenade at your feet, you can trigger it. And I would just recommend anyone get it. I do know this is a starter exotic, so somehow if you don't have it, that would be amazing. But I'm pretty sure anyone should get this gun. It is one of the ones that is almost always worth it, especially when it's like overload submachine guns on the list. Then lastly, we have the Black Talon, which is a void exotic sword, which kind of is not so relevant at all anywhere but maybe the Crucible or Gambit. It's basically just a sword that you can hit right trigger and project a projectile out, which of course it is affected by the heavy attacks in general being stronger, so you can't exactly spam it. And it does come with Tireless Blade for more ammo every other sword kill. Its catalyst making it so that blocking a shot, essentially a perfectly timed block, will increase the damage of the projectiles, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure if anyone's using a sword and trying for projectiles, they would much rather use a caster frame sword and save the exotic slot for other things. It is definitely a fun and both beautiful exotic, but I don't think anyone exactly uses this in their endgame builds unless it is super specialized or somebody's trying a challenge. But from that point, that is the exotic stocks. I will just quickly go through the weapons available. The 7th Seraph submachine gun, essentially a vertical frame arc submachine gun. Then the Wolftone Draw, a arc precise bow. A Gnawing Hunger, which is a void adaptive frame auto rifle. Great roll on that. The Tarnished Metal, which is a arc lightweight frame scout rifle and also red border craftable. Code Duello, which is solar high impact frame rocket launcher. Then Sail Spy Pitch Glass, which is a precision frame adaptive frame which is a arc precision frame linear fusion rifle, and once again also red border craftable. And lastly, we have all the variety class swords. For Titans, the Void Crown Splitter. For Hunters, the Arc Quick Flang, and the Warlocks, the Infinity's Edge, if I recall, which is solar. But from that point, we also seem to have the Hold Fast set, which is the Season 11 basic armor. It is pretty much traditional armor if you're looking to prepare for war, or looking to be in the pits if you were looking for a theme. Aside from that, that is the Bungie exotic stock from Xur. But just speaking of Bungie, I will be making a video covering the more of the controversy, or at least my opinions on it. Because obviously, I am a Destiny channel from at the very base. I may not only do Destiny, but Destiny is the main thing I do. So there is definitely some worries about for the future of the channel. But with that, my name is TheMadScorpyon. I will see you in the next video.